Thomas Muller is one of the biggest oddities in world football. He doesn't have world-class finishing, world-class pace, or even world-class dribbling, but he still managed to accomplish what many players can only dream of. But what confuses people the most about Thomas Muller is his position, or lack thereof, because he doesn't fit into any prototypical positions on the footballing pitch. He's not a striker, he's not a number 10, he's not a winger, so what is he? Well, in his own words, he's a Raumdeuter, which in English translates to space interpreter. And this describes his game the best because what makes Thomas Muller so effective is his ability to anticipate and time his runs perfectly, which helps him create chances for himself and others. But even besides his actual playing ability, his leadership on and off the pitch has earned himself the nickname Radio Muller because of his unrivaled talent to communicate with his teammates. And all his qualities together with his footballing IQ and leadership has helped Muller become one of the most consistent footballers of our generation. I mean, if you want to talk about consistency, this guy has managed to stay and adapt to many managerial changes in Bayern over the years and become one of the most beloved Bayern legends. And him becoming a Bayern legend might have been destined from the start because he was born in a small village called Paul, which is just 30 miles from Munich. In Paul, he started playing for his local team called TSV Paul at the age of 4, and at this club it was clear that Muller was quite simply better than all the other kids his age, with his coach saying he could do things that other kids simply couldn't. And anyone could see how good young Muller was because in just one season he ended up scoring more than 100 goals by himself, even with him being tightly marked by all his opponents. Him dominating kids his age led him to being promoted to play older kids, and after getting promoted he would be put on the bench for his very first game. In this game his team would be down 1-0 by halftime, so he would get a chance to play in the second half. And just in the second half alone, Muller would score 4 goals and assist 1 to help his team win 5-1. And he would continue dominating kids in his local area until eventually he would get noticed by Bayern and he would sign with them at the age of 10, where he steadily worked his way up through the youth ranks. After slowly working his way up, Muller's big breakthrough would come in 2007, where he scored 18 goals in 26 games for the under-19 team, outperforming everyone's expectations for Muller that season. This performance convinced Bayern's manager Jurgen Klinsmann to give him a call-up to the Bayern's first team right before Muller turned 19 years old. He would make his Bayern debut early on in the season when he came on as a substitute for Miroslav Muller. He failed to impress in his debut and he would get demoted back down to Bayern's second team, where he stayed until the final few games of the season. But this season would turn out to be a disaster not only for Muller but also for Bayern, as it was clear Klinsmann wasn't prepared for the Bayern job, as he ended up getting fired 5 games before the season ended, with Bayern losing out on the title by 2 points to Wolfsburg. With this season over, Muller expected that he wouldn't get much playing time the following season because of his poor performance, but lucky for him, Louis van Gaal would get hired as the Bayern manager. Van Gaal would recognize what Klinsmann didn't, and not only kept Muller on the team but made Muller one of the featured attackers on the team, along with Ribéry and Robben, who just came over from Real Madrid. Ribéry would play on the left with Muller playing centrally, and Robben would be on the right wing in Van Gaal's 4-2-3-1 formation. Muller, Ribéry, and Robben would provide the perfect balance for the team's attacking unit, as Ribéry was the creative provider of the team with Robben being more of the scorer, and Muller had both, as he could score and create for the team. With the team's newfound attack, they performed much better than the previous season, as by April of that year, Bayern would secure the title and also win the DFB Pokal, as Muller finished as the top scorer in the cup. And with the domestic double secured, Bayern would have a chance to do something no German club has done before: win a treble, as Bayern had reached the Champions League final to face Inter Milan. Inter would be defensively sound this game as they shut out most of Bayern's attacking chances, and they would also be the first ones to score as Schneider would play the pass to Milito, as Milito would start the game off 1-0 in the 35th minute. And this game stayed 1-0 as the game headed into halftime, and shortly after the second half started, Muller would receive one of Bayern's best chances to score, but he failed to put it away. And this game would officially be put away in the 70th minute when Milito broke Van Boyten's ankles to score his second goal of the game, with the game ending 2-0 for Inter Milan as Bayern would miss out on their treble. But what made this loss sting even more was the fact that while Bayern missed out on their treble, Inter became the first Italian team ever to win a treble. However, while the season ultimately ended in a disappointing fashion for Muller, he could still hold his head up high as he went from a player who only played a total of 28 minutes of first-tier football the previous year to playing in every single game for Bayern this season. Him playing in every game was a large part due to Van Gaal, with him being known to put trust into youngsters from his Ajax days. And he would also outright say, even if Ribéry and Robben are available, Muller would always have a place in my team. And as this season ended, Muller wouldn't be able to get much rest as he would be called up to the German national team for the 2010 World Cup. He would earn the chance to start for the team, and in the very first game against Australia, he would make his mark as he would assist the very first goal of the game by passing the ball to Podolski, who was running in from outside the box. Muller would also get a goal of his own late into the game as he would put in a shifty move to lose his defender to score, with the game ultimately ending 4-0 for Germany thanks to Muller's 2 contributions. And the rest of the group stage games would go well for Germany, with them finishing first in the group with 6 points, and they would be matched up with their heated rivals England for the round of 16. In this game, Germany would go up 2-0 behind Klose and Podolski's goals early on in the game, but England would get one back as Matt Upson scored a header off of a Gerrard cross, and the game would stay hotly contested until Muller scored back-to-back goals in the 66th and 69th minute to ensure Germany's win over England 4-1, which would see Germany move on to the quarterfinals to face Argentina. The game against Argentina would be a bit of a personal one for Muller because Maradona disrespected Muller before the match, with him refusing to sit with Muller in a pre-match interview, and him ending up storming off the set, leaving Muller feeling embarrassed. So in this game, Muller would make sure to get his revenge as Muller would score just as the game started in the 2nd minute with a header, and Germany would continue to score on Argentina for the rest of the game, with them scoring 3 more goals to beat Argentina 4-0. However, even with Muller getting his revenge, this game would turn out to be an unfortunate one for Muller, as he would be booked 34 minutes into the game for a handball, which would earn him a suspension that would sideline him for Germany's semi-final match against Spain. And for Germany, the loss of Muller would be too big to overcome as they would lose to Spain in a close 1-0 game, with Carlos Puyol grabbing a late goal to win Spain the game. With this loss, Germany would be playing for 3rd place against Uruguay, and for this game, Muller would be back, and his comeback would see him scoring just 19 minutes into the game, which would ultimately be the difference as Germany beat Uruguay 3-2 to secure 3rd place. Muller's goal though would also be important for other reasons, because his goal would take his total goal tally up to 5 goals, which would be enough for him to win the Golden Boot at the young age of 20 years old. And with this World Cup performance, Muller would finally earn recognition from all over the footballing world, as he would be recognized as one of the premier wonder kids in the world. But for Muller and Bayern though, things wouldn't be all great for them in the following season, as Bayern's results would be shaky in the first half of the season, with Muller unable to replicate his form from the previous season. He would eventually come back to the starting lineup shortly before winter break, and this time around he would pick his form back up, and by the time the winter break ended, he would be back to the Muller of old. However, even with Muller picking back up his form, the team would continue to struggle in the league and in the Champions League, with Bayern being knocked out in the round of 16 by the same team they lost to last year in Inter Milan. To make matters worse though, Bayern would do atrocious in the Bundesliga compared to their standards, as they would finish 3rd in the league, with their rivals Dortmund winning the league 10 points ahead of Bayern. Bayern's performance in this season would ultimately culminate in Van Gaal getting sacked before the season even ended, and his replacement would be a man who managed Bayern before, Jupp Heynckes. This managerial change would mess with Muller though, as in the very next season, he went on a goal drought to start the year, which lasted from September to all the way to February. Luckily for Muller though, Bayern managed to reach their 2nd Champions League final in 3 years, even with Muller's poor form, with Bayern narrowly edging out Real Madrid in the semi-finals to help them advance to the finals to face Chelsea. This game would stay even for the majority of the game until Muller would come out of nowhere and score his 2nd goal of the tournament in the 83rd minute, and this goal seemed like a scene out of a movie, with the hometown boy scoring the winning goal for his boyhood club. And in the 87th minute, Muller would get subbed out of the game, even hitting one of his signature celebrations to the crowd, as the game felt like it was going to end up in a Bayern win. Unfortunately for Muller though, this scene would quickly get ruined, as Drogba would get a header of his own just 1 minute after getting subbed out, which was forced this game to go into extra time. In the extra time, Bayern would get a chance to win the game, with them earning a penalty after Drogba put in a dangerous challenge in the box. But this chance would get wasted as Robin would miss the penalty. After the penalty miss, neither sides managed to score, so the game headed into penalty shootout. In the shootout, Olic and Schweinsteiger would miss Bayern's final 2 penalties, which would give Drogba the chance to win the game, to which Muller's demise he did. However, the disappointment for Bayern didn't only stop there, as Bayern managed to lose out on the title 2 years in a row to their rivals Dortmund yet again, as they took the league comfortably with 81 points. And these disappointments in the league and Champions League was particularly hard to swallow for Muller, as he had his worst season to date, with him only scoring 11 goals and 19 assists in 51 total matches. And this downturn in performance affected the relationship between Bayern and Muller negatively, as Muller would state to the media how he was unhappy about his frequent benching increasing throughout the season, and this complaint would cause rumors of Muller leaving the club. Through all the rumors though, Muller stayed at Bayern, and this decision would turn out to be one of Muller's best, as Bayern and Muller would have a complete turnaround in form the next season, with them winning 8 straight games to start the year. And by December of that year, they would have a ridiculous 44-7 goal ratio in the Bundesliga, with Muller scoring 9 goals and 7 assists, which already eclipsed his Bundesliga amount the previous season. Their form wouldn't only be exclusive to Bundesliga though, as Muller was scoring both the round of 16 and quarterfinals against Arsenal and Juventus, with Bayern beating them both to reach the semifinals to play Barcelona. This matchup would be a highly anticipated one by many fans as a clash between two giants, but this series would instead turn out to be a lopsided affair, as Muller would score 3 goals in 2 legs to help Bayern blow out Barcelona 7-0. With that victory, Muller would have his 3rd shot at winning the Champions League in 4 years, and the team they would be taking on would be Dortmund, the same team that dethroned Bayern in the Bundesliga in the past 2 seasons. But before the game started, Muller would show why he is one of the leaders of the team by giving a motivating speech to the team saying, "We have to win. If you lose 3 finals in 4 seasons, you are going to be labeled as chokers." And for Bayern, the pre-game speech worked like a charm, because Bayern would win the game 2-1 after a clutch Robben goal in the 89th minute that won Bayern their 5th ever Champions League finals. However, while Robben would be the hero in this match, it would be Muller who would finish as the top scorer for Bayern in this tournament with 8 goals. But what was truly special about this win was the fact that Bayern and Muller had finally accomplished what they had been chasing for all these years: win a treble, as Bayern would win the DFB Pokal and Bundesliga with 91 points. This victory would also see Bayern's manager Jupp Heynckes retire, with him citing he had accomplished everything he had hoped for in football as his reason for quitting. And with Heynckes gone, Bayern would bring in a very worthy replacement in Pep Guardiola, who would bring his tiki-taka possession-based tactic to the team, which at first might not look favorable towards Muller, as he's not the strongest with the ball at his feet. Muller, however, showed his tactical flexibility this season, as he would continue to look world-class in Pep's system, as he scored 13 goals and 11 assists, with Bayern winning the league again with 90 points. And the summer after this season will also see Muller get a chance for another redemption at a trophy he missed out on early in his career, the World Cup. And just like his last World Cup, he would start off his campaign very strong, as he scored a hat-trick in the opening game against Portugal, and things would go according to plan for the rest of the group stage games, as Germany finished first with 7 points. In the knockouts, Germany would win 2 very close games against Algeria and France to advance to the semi-finals, where they would play the tournament favorites and the hosts, Brazil. Muller would start off this match for Germany as he scored in the 11th minute to take the lead, but this goal would only open the floodgates, as Germany would go on to score 6 more goals to beat the hosts 7-1 in what was one of the biggest humiliations in football history. After that victory, Germany would play Argentina World Cup finals for the 3rd time in history, and in this game, Mario Götze would score a dramatic extra time goal to win Germany the World Cup. But just like in other high-stakes tournaments, it was Muller who finished as the top scorer of the team with 5 goals, as it seemed like Muller just turns it up a notch in big moments and big games. And at this point, Muller had essentially conquered football, with him winning basically all the highest competitions in football, with him having won the World Cup, Champions League, and the treble to top it all off. And even though Muller had accomplished everything there was to in football, he only got better from here on out, as he would have his career best season this season after, with Bayern adding Lewandowski to the team, with Muller moving to the right of Lewandowski. This duo would work out perfectly, as Muller would score career best 32 goals in all competitions, with Robert Lewandowski adding 42 to the tally, helping Muller win yet another double for Bayern. And what makes Muller so special is that as Muller aged older, it never seemed like he regressed, with him staying consistent all these years, with many different managers coming and going, like Ancelotti, Kovac, Flick, Nagelsmann, and Tuchel, and many different players doing the same. So I think there's one thing safe to say, and that is players and managers come and go, but Muller doesn't.